Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Road to Recovery podcast. This podcast is a platform for education, discussion, and conversations on mental health. I'm your host, Amira Shah, and in this podcast, you'll get to know more about the therapeutic process, insight into life from the perspective of the psyche, and also join me in exploring current issues with other practitioners. I specialize in grief, but I'm always interested in learning about the human experience of the mind, heart, and spirit. So join me on this journey of in-depth learning about ourselves and the world we live in. Hi everyone, welcome back to Science of the Soul. My name is Amira, and today I have with me Sanja Stojcic, and she is a holistic therapist and a naturopath, and she runs the College of Conscious Living, where she teaches a diploma in holistic integrated creative arts therapy. Hi Sanja.
Hi Amira, thanks for having me. This is really lovely.
Oh, it's been really nice to catch up with you today. Sanja and I caught up a few hours ago. I haven't seen her in months and months and months because she lives so far away from me. But today I've decided I am going to come down here. I'm going to talk to her. We're going to catch up and do this podcast. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you for doing this. I'm very excited to have a chat about all sorts of things. And yeah, let's see where it goes.
Yes. So, Sanja, you have been running this diploma for 2 years now. Can you tell me a little bit more about this course and how you got into it?
Yeah, so the course itself is designed to set up our students ultimately with the skill set to work for themselves, set up their own businesses within the creative arts. So it can be running workshops in just painting. They can also do holistic counselling, so maybe setting up a business with working with one-on-one clients. So there are many different pathways our students can take, but it's ideally to set them up so that they can work for themselves. And within that, we give them the training to begin with, to really help them understand what trauma is, what stress does to not only the brain, but also how the body responds when we have trauma and stress, and how it can be quite lodged within the body and different areas of the body. So we get them to understand that mind-body connection, stress and trauma in the first part of the course, and then we start looking at the different types of creative arts that can be used to help people identify these traumas and stresses in the body, and most importantly to facilitate it out of the body. So the creative arts, as fun as it can be, the therapeutic part of it is when we start having a look at our emotions, the negative ones, the ones that are causing us harm, and we start transferring them on to paper or into sculpture or into a dance movement. We're now facilitating it out of the body, so it's no longer trapped within. And then that becomes a lot more workable and manageable to start shifting through that, because it's no longer within. It's now out there, a little bit more detached from the person.
Yeah, so there's this process of externalization that is heavily guided by your creative instincts, and as we know, a lot of us know by now that trauma is embodied. The body remembers that book by Van der Kolk.
Yes,
and it's about, I guess, releasing that traumatic tension that is so deeply buried within our, everything.
Yeah, definitely.
And making something beautiful out of it, actually, because creative arts and dance. Do you do dance as well?
We do, yeah. So we have a few modules where we call it elemental movement meditation and authentic movement. So it is basically where we put on a piece of music and the person is allowed to move in any which way that they feel guided based on the music. And we do have a structure where we would take them through different elements, such as air, fire, water, earth, and then focus on different aspects of the body that correlate to that element. So we are moving them through their own body, and if there's something lodged, perhaps as we work up the legs in our pelvis, for example, there something may arise and they may be able to release through that particular movement, or they may not have anything really lodged in their body that comes out through dance movement. It might not be their thing that gets triggered, which is fine. Whatever happens is just authentic, really. Yeah.
So I didn't know that was what it was called, because I had a very strange dance experience a year ago.
Really? Do tell.
Oh my God. It was so weird because I'm not a dancer.
Yeah.
If anyone is a Frank Zappa's fan, he has this song called Two Left Feet, and that's me. That song is all me. I cannot dance. And so I didn't know what I was going for. Someone had tickets, so I was invited, some dance thing. And I'm just like, okay, so I rock up. And I'm just in this bare room with like polished floorboards. I think it was at the Yacht Club in West End or something like that.
Yeah.
And then some really interesting characters were there as well, like men in skirts, very colorful skirts, who later on at the end changed into a leather jacket to ride on his motorbike home. So I was very confused. And then there was like this warm-up thing, and everyone's like moving and just bending, in very strange ways. And then people started dancing, but no one is synchronized, and everyone's doing their own thing, and I didn't know what to do. I was freaking out. I stayed in a corner and I just stretched for half an hour because I was just so uncomfortable. I was like, I can't dance to begin with. B, like, I'm very sober.
Yes.
See, yes. I'm scared. I was actually scared. But then no one was looking at anyone either. So after a while, I realized there's no judgment here.
Yes.
And I was the last one that stopped dancing.
Ah, you see?
And I was like, this is so liberating. This is awesome.
Yes.
I went home and continued alone.
Yes.
In the dark.
Yes.
So
yes.
It opened a gate. It was really, really awesome.
That's amazing because, so many people, particularly with the students, after we have, and it terrifies them when I tell them our practical for today is to move our body sober in daylight, any way you want to. People they have terror, sheer terror on their faces. But once we set them up, and it's obviously a very safe space, and there's a lot of guidance to help them to get into the zone, and then when they're in the zone, we just let the music and themselves take over. The number one thing that people often say is exactly what you just said. They feel liberated. And we had there are many students that have had some experience somewhere in their life that has shut down their body, and they're not aware of it until they're asked to dance. And we've had a couple of students where the most that they could do was literally stand still for the entire hour and just swing their arms, and that was liberating enough. The fact that they had the confidence just to swing their arms around and do nothing more. So it is very interesting what can be achieved just through purely moving your body.
It was very confronting, I found. And confronting not in the sense where you are terrified because of the social anxiety, because you don't know anyone here and everything's strange.
Yes.
But confronting in the sense almost where I remember thinking, like, why am I moving this way? Yeah. Like, what? I didn't know I could do this.
Yeah.
And why can't I do that?
Yes.
And just realizing every now and then that I need to open my eyes, otherwise I'll bang into people. Because there's that part where, like, you're in the zone.
Yes.
But then, and you're having a great time, but trying to maintain that balance of being present physically and not being, I guess, drawn away by your mind and
Yes.
you know, whatever oxytocin that's going on in your head.
Yep.
Not letting that take the lead, and forgetting where you are, and forgetting to respect the people around you, and like not startle them as well.
Yes.
So it was an interesting balance, and I found that balancing act confronting for quite a while.
Yeah, I could imagine. Well, that brings my point to our second movement within the course, is where we call it authentic movement. And in this particular space, they team up. Our students will team up with another student, so that the one student who is in their authentic movement does have their eyes closed, and the other student is creating a safe space and supporting them so that they can lose themselves as far and as deep as they need to, knowing that the other student has got their back. This particular activity is also again around body movement, but it's now a trust factor. And a lot of people, don't close their eyes because perhaps their trauma started somewhere in the dark at nighttime, and they've lost a lot of trust between other human beings. So it's absolutely mind-blowing what can happen when we again set that space up, and you're working with a partner to entrust that no matter which way I move or where I move, I'm not going to bash into a wall, I'm not going to fall over, because you've got me, you've got my back.
Wow.
And for some people it can be the first time that they've experienced that level of intimacy and trust with someone, and that they're forever transformed in that moment.
Wow.
They've experienced something that they haven't had for a long time. So it's a huge privilege,
Yeah.
a lot of the work that we do with our students, to watch this and to see what they get out of it. Yeah.
Whoa, what a shift. And how long does that go on for, this buddy system?
Up to an hour.
Okay. Well, within an hour, you
Yeah.
are teaching someone to trust.
Yes.
So do you meet much resistance?
No, because that particular activity is placed at module 17.
Oh.
So it's towards the end of the course. So we have a lot of sharing and trust building through the course in other activities, that by the time we come to that activity where we have to pair up, people in the space, in the course, that they know each other. Well, they've built a lot of rapport, and a lot of work's already been done. A lot of trauma's been shifted. A lot of healing has happened.
Right.
So
there's trust in the process as well.
Correct.
As the people around them.
yeah.
That's incredible, because even in my work, at times when I do encourage a short meditation session, or just take the opportunity when, you know, someone's in a hyper aroused state, not everyone is comfortable with closing their eyes, just being in a room
Yes.
and meditating, and that may or may not have may or may not be a product of trauma, but just, you know, even with your therapist, sometimes you don't particularly feel that safe that day in that moment.
That's
because
right.
what is coming up.
Yes.
And I guess that hour might give some time as well for someone to kind of ease into it.
Yes. Yeah, well, we certainly do get met with a lot of not so much resistance, but I think our students, by that time, they're prepped enough, if you like, but there's still sheer terror on their faces. But we, you know, I make sure, because I do facilitate the course, so I do make sure that they are set up in a small meditation where words such as honoring yourself, trusting the self and your partner, so these types of things are already being spoken to be put in the space before they even start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's being just reiterated in different forms throughout the course.
Exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun in the course.
Yeah.
We really do.
I feel like I'm missing out.
You can join us anytime.
Yeah, I'll think about it. So, now you were a naturopath, and I got to know you once upon a time, many years ago, several years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, you did.
As a naturopath.
Yes.
So, tell me about how you've transitioned in your life, in your career, from doing naturopathy to what you're doing now.
Okay. So yes, I have been a practicing naturopath for 18 years, and as I was evolving in my naturopathy, I felt that I needed some other modalities, and I was drawn to meditation.
Mm-hmm.
So I took up a course and did a meditation teachers training program, and I really loved it. So as a result, I started to be able to offer my naturopathic clients, because everybody's stressed out, remember? So I was able to offer a meditation service outside of my consultations. So I did that for a while, and I didn't feel that that's where my calling was. My heart wasn't in it as much as I loved it. However, as a result of being on, I guess, the database within that meditation teachers program, I was offered the position within the course that I do now to come along and be a student as well as an assistant teacher for this particular program. And there was something just instantly that I knew that I should get on board with this. So I did. I showed up. I put myself forward and I got the position. And so I went into the course not really knowing what it was about. I just knew that on some level I needed to be there. So yeah, I showed up and started to be a student as well as an assistant teacher within the dynamics of the course. And I think what I came to see was how much healing and transformation was available in such a short period of time if the structure is presented in a way that makes it possible in a short period of time. So then I started to really feel, funnily enough, that my 18 years of being a naturopath was almost like a prerequisite that I didn't know I needed to have to step into being a creative arts therapist.
Yeah.
So I was very fortunate for the background of knowing the human body, the different ailments and conditions, and some of the psychological stress that people come with. But stepping into the creative arts world, I feel I'd found my calling in helping people in a whole other way, and not just with supplements and with herbs, but with this true ability to help people facilitate their own ailments, traumas, stress, emotions through the creative arts. And I just saw so much empowerment. I saw people, while I was in the course as a part of being part of a student or the student body. Yeah, the people around me were, by the end of the course, just totally beaming, transformed.
Wow.
People had let go of stuff that they'd been carrying around for 20 plus years. We all understood ourselves a lot better. We understood that mind-body connection, and belief systems was huge for me. I remember learning this whole concept about your belief systems and how ingrained they can be, and where did those belief systems come from. And I found, like with most people, our caregivers, parents, things like that, when we're little, give us these belief systems. And there was this one defining moment where a lot of my ways of behaving, there was learned behavior but belief systems that I saw had come from my father. And I just had this light bulb moment that, well, they're not mine.
Yeah.
So if they're not mine, who am I and what am I? And I was able to rediscover a more authentic version of me when I started to drop. And it wasn't easy, by the way. It's not easy just to change your belief systems and drop
unlearning.
But that process in itself was difficult and painful, yet empowering and liberating, that I was like free of these things that weren't working for me because they weren't mine. So that was amazing. And so being part of the course, that's where I was sold that this work, it needs to be brought to the people. People need to be doing this. And I get that the course is very much on a professional level to set people up for their business. But there's this whole byproduct that naturally comes with it for personal growth and development. And I'm a strong believer that you need to go through that in order to be the best type of therapist for your client. If you've done the work for yourself, you're going to step into your own authentic power to help facilitate that in somebody else. So it's amazing. It was really amazing.
I mean, it sounds like one hell of a transformation.
It truly is. Yeah.
And I guess I can relate, because when I was doing my training in counseling as well, you know, you learn all these modalities, all these theories, all these therapeutic approaches, and you know, you are your first guinea pig.
Yes.
And not everyone is able to do that or would want to do that. Not every counselor or therapist in training would, you know, apply these things upon themselves, but it's very hard not to.
Yes.
Like, you're kind of forced to you know, analyze yourself constantly. Yeah. And then you grow exponentially.
Yes.
And so what, like, my training was, all in all, took about, well, my post-grad training took about 3 to 4 years, you know. But you crash coursed yours in 6 months.
We certainly do. Yeah. And a lot of people do ask, you know, that there's a lot here for 6 months, and you know, how are we going to get everything that we need in 6 months? But it is really quite phenomenally structured so that everybody does get what they need. And I haven't met anybody that hasn't achieved that in that time. Some people have actually said it should go for so much longer. I think because we just love it, and it's a lot of fun. As much as there can be a lot of soul searching and having a look and shifting through stuff, we certainly have that level of intensity to it. But on the flip side, we have so much laughter and so much fun and so much creativity, and the energy is high, and we just love it. And by the time 6 months is up, it is quite sad that particular course has finished, but people, they get set up and they're ready. They're ready to go out and do whatever type of therapy they feel drawn to. Some people go on for further study, but we make sure that people get very clear in what individual journey they would like to have, and then what kind of business they want to step into. Which I think that's one of the most amazing things, and I often say this, is that we teach the one course, but our students walk out with such a unique journey and experience, and that's what they ultimately set up. So we do not train everyone under the same course and then send out stock standard high cat students. There's none of that. It's the one course, but everybody gets what they need in their own way, and then go off and do what they need to go and do.
So do you think that's the product of the creativity?
I would say yes. Yeah, you've definitely yes, you've understood that one quite well. It's definitely the product of the creativity. Because everyone's creative in their own way, and on that, the creative ability is nothing about, you know, painting this amazing piece that needs to go into an art gallery. You could do stick figures. But if that's your creativity coming out for you to get what you need to get, to see what you need to see, then the job is done. Nice. And that's what I love. You just have to come with an open mind and the love for being creative. What level of creativity you've got, we don't look at that.
Yeah, I've seen some of the work that you've posted of your classes, and often, you know, before, you know, you've told me about this, I was just like, like, sometimes I see some really awesome like art, and sometimes I'm just like, so is she doing this with kids as well? Like, honestly, like, I was a bit confused whether this was what it was about. I caught the art and the therapy side, but then, you know, because I've never really done much of art therapy with my clients, a little bit here and there with trauma clients, but not intensely. So I haven't really seen what is done, and then you post all these art pieces, and I'm just like, I still have no idea what she's doing. Like, it's something to do with paint, and making things, crafts, and consciousness.
All of that. That's good. That's what we do. Definitely. Look, I do I do like posting, particularly on my social platform, what the students are creating, in hopes that whoever might be interested gets a glimpse of some stick figures and goes, right, it is a creative arts course, but I don't need to be Van Gogh and intimidated, because if people are looking at this and going, is she doing this with kids? That doesn't bother me. Because then it would, there might be some confusion as what's actually going on, but they won't be worried about their artistic level, because that's not what it's about.
There's no pressure there.
No pressure. No. And, look, some students at the beginning, I do like to coach them as best I can to overcome that, because people come with perfectionism and that it has to be a certain way and it has to look a certain way. But if we get behind that, there's something that happened in the past that created them to be a perfectionist, and it certainly wasn't their art ability. Something else has gone down. So there's a few of that shows up, and I just have to do my best to support them and reassure them that let's drop all of that and work through it, and then just create whatever you create, and let's have a look at what that is.
There's so much wisdom within the self, especially when your cognitive mind is switched off.
That's such a wonderful way to say it.
Because that perfectionist person, right? Entity is all in your prefrontal cortex. It's like right in that left brain or the cognitive brain. And if that guy won't stop talking and triggering the anxiety, then the inner wisdom, the intuition, the right brain cannot say anything, can't be heard. Oh, I love that. I wish I wrote that down. It's all right, it's recorded.
Okay, great.
It's recorded.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Science of the Soul. This is a short interruption to let you know that if you or someone you know are in need of more support, you can find me at Road to Recovery on my Facebook page, my Instagram, or my website at aroadtorecovery.org. I hope you've enjoyed listening so far, and now let's get back to the podcast. And you talked about the past, people bringing things from their past, like we all have baggage. And I was just thinking back to your story and how you received this email and you took a really random risk. It was an uncalculated risk. You didn't really know what you were getting yourself into. You just took a risk.
Yes.
And from that risk 2 years ago, all this unfurled. And what about people who are averse to taking risks? Like, how would they even come across? Would they be interested? What would draw them in?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. The only way I can answer that is that I am a huge believer in when the person is ready on any level, things will start to show up. And if they're not a big risk taker, or if they're very uncomfortable with, having a look at personal growth or something like that, but if there is any part of them that is ready, something will show up, perhaps, the advertising of my course, and it's still up to them in their consciousness and free will whether they go, you know what, I'm going to have a look at that. And if it terrifies me, I'm still going to have a look at that. Or they may just do another, no, I'm not ready, shut it down and move away. So I can't really say what someone that doesn't take a lot of risk would or wouldn't do. It's more based on, I feel, whether they're ready, and if what they see, such as the advertising for the High Cat course, resonates for them. And sometimes it awakens people, and that what they normally would shy away from, maybe they've had enough on some level. Subconsciously, their life is not working for them anymore. They know that they've got some stuff there. They've not really looked at it. And then something presents and they just go, you know what? I think it's time
to do something else.
To do something else and do something about it.
So sometimes a conscious awareness of what's not working, just simply that might be the motivation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, because of the course is quite professionally structured, we do get a lot of people who are already very consciously aware. They know they want to step into a healing field, a teaching field. So they understand that basically the course is to set them up for their own business. So we do get definitely more people who are ready to take on that journey, knowing that there's going to be a personal component. They're going to have to do the work themselves, but they're all very much led by their desire to want to ultimately help people. Which is where you're coming from as well. And you talked about your beliefs and how you pretty much inherited these beliefs, kind of like how we inherit our religion if we're born into it. And it reminded me of something that I learned 2015 when I just started doing my diploma for professional counseling, and it was called parental contamination. And a lot of things like racism, sexism, and all these other things, like no child is like outwardly discriminatory. It all comes from someone, from somewhere. And our beliefs are, a lot of them become inherited, and generally if they somehow, I guess, resonate with us in our lives and they are good beliefs, then, we carry them through life and we refine them and whatnot. But sometimes if they're just so incongruent with our authentic selves, it will generally, unless you are a very enlightened being, which then, you would have dumped those beliefs a while ago. Generally, it takes an existential crisis or a tragedy or something to happen in your life for you to go like, actually, this is not working out. Or it's just been like years and years of a certain pattern where you just go like, no, I can't do this anymore. Like it's you've reached a limit. And then you reevaluate everything. Most definitely. And I think within the course, there is a really great platform for our students to reevaluate, because as many inquiries as I get, that yes, I want to become a holistic therapist and I want to run my own business, I also get a lot of people that experience exactly that, where they've had enough and they need a whole new fresh beginning, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to get there. With the end goal being maybe or not running a business. But it's really interesting because by the time we get to the end of the course, and I'm very open to wherever the person may be, whether they want to run their own business out of this or just come along for the wonderful personal benefits, it's very interesting that by the end of the course, how many people have changed their mind about what they first came with. Even the people that come with a business mind, even they go through a particular journey and their business looks quite different at the end of the course to when they first, what they had intended. The theme might still be there, like working with children perhaps, but the clarity and what they walk out with, they've really developed that vision. And same with our people who come along for just wanting the personal benefits out of it. They too come with a certain way of being at the beginning, and at the end some of them have actually turned around and said, I'm absolutely running a business out of this now. This transformation, this what I've learned, I want to share it with other people. So it's very fascinating that what they first come with, the journey they go through and what they walk out with, well, we don't know. That's the excitement of the course.
Oh my gosh.
We don't know what can happen.
So this is like transformation all over the place.
It really is.
And there's a theme that keeps coming out in our conversation so far, and it just keeps coming to me. It's just that word authenticity. And altruism. That's the other one, altruism.
Ooh.
Because people come out from this course wanting to improve the lives of other people.
Yes.
And when you can see and you're empowered with the fact that you can change your own life and you can make such a powerful shift, and you can be liberated from your baggage or whatever it is, you suddenly have this confidence that I can help other people realize other things and have a shift in their lives. And I feel that is not always motivated by money. That there's an altruistic aspect to it.
Absolutely, yes. The money is a wonderful again byproduct that happens, and we all need money to live and have a business. I got that, but there is something much greater. And I know that firsthand because I went through that journey. I know what I got out of the course, and it transformed me. And all I know is that if I can change, knowing how difficult and set in my ways I was because of learnt behavior and belief systems that were given to me, which I thought were my own. If I can change, I feel that anybody can change. So that's why I am here 2 years later with this incredible amount of passion, and the money that comes with it it's a wonderful byproduct that allows me to continue bringing this course to people. And I'll keep doing it for as long as I can. And this authentic word or essence that you talk about is this course and the byproduct of it wouldn't be available without authenticity. We have to get authentic to really know what's going on with ourselves, to then bring awareness to it, to then bring transformation, to then ultimately help someone else go through the same process.
It's like not at all being a doctor. It's like the complete opposite of doctors don't take their own medicines and then go like, okay, this is safe. You can have this now.
So true.
It's like the complete opposite. I don't know why I said that. That's just something that
I really got it because what I'm getting from that is much like when you said how there is just so much wisdom within the person. And when we calm down all that, internal chatter and allow them to come from a different place of their brain, which is their creative side, this wisdom comes through. And one of the great things that we do is allow people to find their own truth. So where the doctor will not take his own medication, but hand out prescriptions like lollies. We don't really do that. We look at you to find your own prescription. What is it that you are called towards? And where is your truth located in you? That's your medicine. That's your medication.
So you find your fix.
Exactly right. Yes. Through the use of proper questioning, which we call holistic counseling, so that you get in touch with yourself. And honestly, what I'm seeing in working with people at this level, society doesn't really stop to really ask you questions about you and then give you the time to find your words and answer it that's congruent for you. We talk over the top of people. We're all in a rush. We really don't have time. How are you going? Nobody really stops to really care to listen. Everyone's like, oh yeah, I'm fine, when they're not really fine. So when we do these types of training, we actually really do inquire with authenticity about, well, what's going on for you? Where is it in you? And we give you the time to think about that. And that's very powerful because in such a fast-paced world, nobody really even has time to stop and think about those things for themselves. Until you're given that time and someone's willing to hold the space for you to find your words and answer it. And it's profound what people come up with for themselves that's been within themselves.
I've experienced that, and I've seen that happen as well with clients. And it's just like sometimes all you need is the right kind of offsetting question.
Exactly.
Because the question can't be something that you can give an answer to straight away. It would require a bit of thought.
Yes.
A little bit of time for evaluation or reevaluation. And then like the most profound things come out. You're just like, oh my God, really? And then you think about that as, well, if this is coming from within me, which means that I have some sort of knowledge, and a lot of that comes in a metaphorical way, which again is tapping into that creative part of the mind. And then you think about your dreams, man. Like, I don't know how many people or what the percentage is of people who are attentive to their dreams, but because I have a very vivid memory, and I am like very consciously tuned in with my subconscious.
Yeah, great.
Because I'll have this dream and I'll get up and like, that's what it's about. Or if I know it's random or nonsense, I'm like, it's because I saw that photo.
Yes. That's great.
Yeah. So, and that's all coming from within.
It is.
All these lessons and all these like loops in our dreams that we keep having, recurring dreams of a certain type, like it's trying to tell us something.
Definitely.
And it comes out in the most imaginative, metaphorical, philosophical, fairy tale or nightmare kind of way. And that's how we remember things. That's how they impact us. And we are supposed to learn from that. But then, the moment our eyes open, we're just like, like chatter.
Yes.
And it's just like, we just need a little bit of time and that opportunity, that space that you talk about.
Yes. And I do believe that it's so much more empowering when the person themselves finds that truth. We might be able to see it. For example, if we're sitting here and talking, because you're in your stuff, I'm objective, maybe I can see what your truth is or should be. And even if I do get it right, it's still best that I refrain and help you see it for yourself, because it's going to land 10 times more powerfully when you yourself get it than when someone tells you. And it can be really lovely when people are sharing and they give advice, but there's nothing like that moment where the stars align and everything just comes together in you, and you just go, oh my goodness, I'm mind blown that I just really got that for me, because you came up with it for yourself. Yeah, I think that's something that people don't forget, and gives them the courage and empowerment to then move forward, or whatever it is they've discovered, to then go in that direction, as opposed to someone, kind of telling you. It's a different, they both have value, but there's a real different essence when someone tells you something, or when you get something for yourself and you came up with that.
So this is other word that keeps popping to my head, being my like popping words, is process. It is the process that is the teacher, and it is through process you attain the experiential learning rather than rote learning. Definitely. And the process is different for everyone, and the time factor that's involved in that is also different, and the modalities in that process are different. Some people really gravitate towards journaling, and that's their process, that's their time, and other people are like, oh no, that doesn't really resonate for me. So and I use journaling because I'm a journaler. I write, and interestingly enough, when I do because I'm still processing my life on so many levels, I don't believe that ever really stops. But through my journaling, I'll always do a meditation beforehand, and it's I'm definitely not in a trance, but it feels like I go into a meditative space, and then what I'm journaling, I am connected to God, source, universe, and there's this innate wisdom that's coming through, which is part of my process. And when I feel I'm finished, I will always just leave my journal for a moment, and I'll walk away and do something. When I come back, honestly, when I read it, I'm like, who wrote this? Really?
But it's me. It's my wisdom talking through me. But then I put myself in the right place and position, and parasympathetic nervous system relaxation in order to get that. But same with our students and people. Everyone has their own process, and some people really love painting. They'll just get lost for hours in their painting, and it doesn't matter what they're painting, they're processing their subconscious. Something is shifting and moving and coming out into that painting, and they might step back after a day or two and step back and realize, wow, I've painted that, or that means that, or I never thought about it like this before. You can have all sorts of things happen in that process time. Particularly when you find the right modality that facilitates the process for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the creative expression, whether through painting or movement and anything else?
Well, we do creative writing, we do sculpture.
Oh, wow.
We do meditation.
Oh.
We do sand play therapy.
Wow. Music?
Music, yes. We definitely look at music and how music affects the brain and the healing component to music. Vibrational healing, we also look at that. So there are a few different modalities.
So all the senses.
Yeah, for sure.
Much.
Yes.
Whoa, that's intense. Cooking? Culinary arts?
Funnily enough, we do make a baker's clay. This is in our working with children's module. So it's funny because it looks like a cooking session where they actually have to mix salt, water and flour and make a dough. Almost looks like bread. And then we create structures out of that. And the whole idea is in working. I mean, it's a great activity for adults, but children love to, get their hands into something and make something and get messy. So instead of just working with Play-Doh that you can buy from the shop, we get the child involved from scratch, which could offset their interest in cooking. Why not?
Cool.
You never know where it could go.
That's so true. That's so true.
Yeah.
So now take me back to your journey now. How has your journey been? It's been a 2.5 year journey for you.
Yes.
Where you started the course, did it for yourself, and now you're empowering a lot of other people doing this. What's it been like for you?
The first word that comes to me is fulfilling. The next word, necessary.
We're really into our words today.
It's a word session.
And necessary.
Yeah, what I can see is that there were, now that hindsight, I do really love hindsight, that I can actually see that this journey was necessary for my own growth, and to be a better facilitator. I take this work very seriously, because how can I say, I do take it seriously and with a lot of heart, because of what it provides or makes available for people. But yeah, necessary for me to grow and change a lot of my ways, which has freed me from things that really did constrain me, or restrain me, however you'd like to say it. It's also given a lot of freedom around, so with different relationships that have been a bit challenging. There's a lot more workability now, particularly around my father and I had a lot of challenges there, and some of my trauma came from that and the parenting style with that, and I just feel also that in my relationships, not even my romantic relationships, but just my general relationships, I can understand people better. Perhaps I can be more tolerant of things that I don't approve of or understand, rather than be very reactive. I can make choices better. So yeah, the journey, I could go on and on and on forever about the journey that I've had, but definitely necessary so that I could change the things that were not working, and this gave me the tools in how to change them, because I didn't know they needed changing, to be really honest. But fulfilling, because all I can say, my heart feels full, my heart feels complete, that I was able to do those things so that ultimately I can be a better person and move into my future and support other people and have a better understanding of people in general. So that's been, I think, as much as I can say. I mean, there's a lot that's actually happened in the last 2 years, healing with past relationships, past broken relationships, healing many different aspects within myself, coming from a place of not loving myself enough and therefore making poor decisions in life, which then that had its own complications moving forward, and lots of realizations that, well, I don't really want those non-workable things in life. I want to do the best that I can to achieve that what I want. And it's not about being happy all the time. It's not about, saying fake affirmations, or unrealistic affirmations. It's about being authentic and congruent with where you're at and knowing that that's what's needed for now. So for example, I'm big on the example with affirmations. There is no place in this course for fake it till you make it. I do not agree with that at all. It's more about knowing, well, if we're going to work on affirmations, because remember, affirmations, they're very powerful words that you need to say either out loud or in your silent mind. But for affirmations to be really powerful, they need to get into the nervous system, much like every other affirmation. So when we have something like, I'm unlovable or I'm not worthy, that's been reiterated so much that it's in your nervous system now, right? Yeah. So in order to have a new affirmation, if it's not congruent for you to then go immediately to, I'm amazing and I'm lovable, generally what will happen, it's so far-fetched that this fake it till you make it won't really last, because you might say it for a day or two, but because there's no congruency, you'll fall in a heap. You'll feel like shit.
Yeah.
You'll sit there with yourself, detesting yourself more than what you started with, because, well, I'm saying it. Why aren't I feeling it? That's because the leap is too far.
Right.
So you've got to get congruent with, well, what is the affirmation at this point that I can say to myself? And it might be something as simple as, I like me today, or I'm okay today. And you start on that and you build. And so when you feel, okay, I've got the hang of, I can like myself today. And then that gets into your nervous system and you've created some new neural pathways around that. Then we assess it again. What's your next affirmation?
Yeah.
So you've got to go through the processes, again, back to process, in order for these things to be believable and then achievable. Yeah.
I can almost completely understand where you're coming from, because the whole fake it till you make it, like you said, its impacts can be quite short-lived, and I guess maybe it might work if there is physical movement in it. Like if you're forcing yourself to go to work, might as well just smile at someone, at work, something like that. So, over time, your physical body does change your brain chemistry a little bit. But if, like you're right, it's like making goals, right? Like when you have an ambition and you go like, okay, I don't know, because I'm in student mode at the moment, I'm going to write 4,000 words by the end of the week. Like there's no break up to that. The goal is too big and you have like this much time. It's too ambiguous.
Yes.
And when we take it one step at a time, although they seem like really small steps, and we do that with clients as well. Like, today just walk around your house.
Yes.
If anything, you know, and if you can do that, that's great. Or don't wash one dish and be okay with that, or a fork.
That's it.
Something like that. Something very, very achievable.
Yes.
But then over time, just that feeling of accomplishment.
Yes.
The growth compounds.
Yes.
And teeny tiny little steps of success every day or every week becomes like a lot more. So that affirmation that you would ideally like to maybe achieve or really be congruent with, like at the end of the year, might actually come true, but then it just has to be more realistic.
Absolutely. And with when I work with people, they might identify their negative belief system within them is I'm unlovable, and they feel immediately that very congruently, my next affirmation is that I am lovable. And if that's congruent, that's what we go with. So but there's a series of questioning in that as well, just to make sure that they're not aiming too high and that they don't fall in a heap. And I guess there's nothing wrong with falling in a heap, but this break it down to bite-sized achievable pieces, because when you feel a sense of accomplishment, well, that brings confidence. and now I'm starting to shift. They get to actually see, well, I've shifted an old belief system and I've now just created something new. And then we build on that, and then we have a look again. What else can we put into the equation? What's our next level of affirmation?
Yeah.
And that's, I feel, just a lot more powerful and achievable for people.
Yeah. And I'm just gonna introduce something small here when it comes to affirmations. And you talked about the nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system being in action. Is that so? I am a huge advocate for yin yoga, and the teachers that I follow and the videos that I watch or that I play, if I don't feel like being very autonomous in my own practice, I just want to follow and switch off, and get lectured about philosophy or something, is that usually in the yin yoga pose, when we're halfway through or quite settled, you know that your parasympathetic nervous system is already running. You can tune in quite quickly after you've done a couple of pigeon poses. You're just all right. And then that's when the teacher introduces the affirmation. I am this, I am that. Yes. And it's almost like a feather landing on the bed. That's how it just and it just sits there, and you're just yes, and it just comes to you, and so if it just comes to you, so there's no resistance, there's no incongruency issue there. It's absolutely natural. Yes. And you carry that throughout the day. So I'm a really big advocate for yin yoga, because I also do it with my clients, trauma informed yin. Because going back to that authentic dancing, that whole, the embodiment of trauma, or the embodiment of all your issues, from time to time can't, in yoga poses, because you have to hold these poses for a few minutes, and things come up sometimes, and particularly with the women who have had sexual trauma when they're, in the past, a lot is held in the hips. And in the jaw. And then when you start doing hip opening poses, it can be super confronting and quite emotional as well. For some people, when their chest is very exposed, so they're more in their back, that can be, a position of vulnerability. You just never know what comes up, and your body and yourself tells you a lot if you'd listen. You just need to just give it some time and listen, because it is always communicating with you. It is. And that makes me think of Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, how in his book he's a big advocate for yoga, and that yoga has been more effective in treating post-traumatic stress disorder than any medication that people are being given to try and ultimately treat PTSD with. And now you've just explained it incredibly well, that through yoga there's certain poses that they have to hold, which can then open up something in the body to actually shift it and move it, which is so much more powerful than just here's some drugs. And sometimes antidepressants or whatever may be of use, but generally speaking, it's much better to do something like the yoga and get the body into the relaxation response, that parasympathetic nervous response, so that things can actually shift, because we do know that no learning or healing can happen in the sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight and stress response. So if that's going on for the person, they won't learn nothing new. No affirmation can certainly get in there, and they won't be able to heal any issues emotionally or physically or otherwise in the fight or flight stressed out state. Yeah. It's like when you're in the rest and digest, you're really resting and digesting yourself, your life, your mind. Yes. So true. So I have another question. I'm a bit mindful for time. We've been going on for an hour. You talked about some of your shifts and that it's been fulfilling and necessary. And earlier today, you mentioned that you need a different perspective in how you present yourself in your course, and that how you've been doing it may not be the best way forward. Can you tell us a little bit more? Because I think that this might come up for facilitators and teachers and therapists as well, where you use you draw upon your struggles and your sufferings in the past, the lessons that come from them, and you use that to empower and teach, and you impart that. But then what happens when that no longer serves you?
This is great. Yeah, look, thank you for asking me that question, because it's actually right today, as you and I have been together, that this has really been brought up for me. So yeah, what does happen, I've outgrown it, is what's coming to me. So in the past, where I've been sharing a lot of my own trauma, and it's been appropriate and necessary in order for me to facilitate the class, what I've come to see now is that, yeah, I've outgrown telling all of that. So where to from here? Well, interesting. I think the new perspective is, and it's only coming to me now, and I'm still going to sit with it afterwards and speculate, but I think sharing some of the trauma to give context to my students, but more so now the process. I feel very empowered by the process. So where I've spent a lot of time talking about the trauma, because in getting relatability and letting people know that trauma can be any kind of trauma, I feel that I want to start focusing on the empowerment of the process. Now I've got enough experience of my own to start sharing the experience that I've gone through in order to get where I am, and it's certainly not the end result, but more sharing about that than the trauma that I did have. And that's only coming to me now, but I feel that's in alignment with where I need to be taking my sharing, my wisdom, and my trauma has always got a place, but I just feel that there needs to be now an inclusion of the process that I've been, because it's been a 2-year journey, particularly with the creative arts. There's always been a journey in healing some of the stuff that I've been through, but yes, I do believe I should be focusing on the processes to help with the empowerment and the teaching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe that might also empower your students when they take this forward, that they may not need to use their traumas or their emotional baggages as material, as content to teach from.
Yes.
They can use that as like an internal tool.
Yes.
But I guess, the process comes to the forefront.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately, because this course and what we're up to in life, or what I'm dedicated to, is certainly, again, the trauma has the context, but it's where are we now? How do we move forward? And how do we step into the future with the person that we actually truly want to be? So it's about the process.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the moving forward, and not rehashing the past.
Yeah, because
so
it's
much.
not needed anymore.
It's not needed anymore.
It doesn't serve you anymore.
No.
And it's also weird because you can't teach a course on authenticity if you're not authentically connected to that story anymore.
Yes.
And on some level, and we know, I can't explain it, but we know this is true, that when a teacher or a facilitator or mediator is not in line with themselves, that they are disconnected or fragmented in some way, it's received in a different way. So
it really is.
It's hard to, because then you lack in passion, because then all you're doing is trying to think about how I'm going to fit this square in this circle,
exactly.
or I'm feeling really awkward about this, and then the people you're teaching will get that transference as well.
Yeah.
You'll just shoot yourself in the foot, pretty much.
Exactly. But thank you for asking me that, because that I do believe is a very important place or perspective, or there's definitely a change that is needed, and I wasn't too sure how to define that, but through this conversation it is becoming clearer, so I really appreciate that.
I'm glad to be the facilitator
Yes.
of this thought process.
It's been wonderful. Thank you.
Now, before we wrap up, can you just tell us, our listeners, where to find you, how to get in touch with you if they're interested?
Yeah, great. So my business name is College of Conscious Living. So my website is thecollegeofconsciousliving.com. My social media platforms on Facebook and Instagram is College of Conscious Living. So any one of those platforms, you will be able to contact me. The website does have contact details, the ability to phone me or email me, and all our courses and services are on the website. And my social media is available just to follow along with some of the stuff that we do in the courses, because I like to be as interactive as I can and upload to the social media what it is that we're doing, because it's just colorful and it's just fun. It's just lovely to see.
And if I'm not mistaken, the logo right now looks a lot like your hair clip. It's a purple lotus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
With a white background.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes. And I found that my are they called a graphic designer? My designer that redid my logo for me, what I really love is that she used watercolors as when she revamped it. It looks like watercolors through the lotus flower, so it's very it's very creative.
Yes.
It looks really pretty. I was really happy with that final design.
You are practicing what you preach.
Thank you.
So many levels. And just for potential, I guess, students, this is a 6-month course. When is your next intake, and where do you hold the course?
Okay, so face-to-face, we run 3 campuses, Sunshine Coast, Yandina, Brisbane, Paddington, and the Gold Coast, Carrara.
Okay.
Our next intake is coming up at the end of July, starting July the 27th, the 28th, and the 30th for the 3 different campuses. But we also now, I'm really proud to say that we have the online option. So people from all around Australia and internationally, if they wanted to, because our course is actually accredited in 26 different countries, including Australia.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's through the International Institute of Complementary Therapists. But yeah, our online course is starting July the 14th, which is a Wednesday.
And this is once a week for 6 months.
The face-to-face is once a week for 6 months. The online, we give it a bit more flexibility, and it's 1 module per fortnight. And how you structure yourself and time with that module, you've got 2 weeks to complete it.
The content is online, and they access it whenever they want to, or does this have to be a face-to-face arrangement with you?
No, so we do for the online students. There's no face-to-face in person. We do give them their platform, and they can log in and access their module in sequence, so they can't rush ahead and they can't get to the next module without passing the current module. But with the online, I do run a Zoom meeting every fortnight, so that there is an essence of real-time interaction with myself, the facilitator. So if they've got any questions or concerns, or they just want to share some of their transformations and breakthroughs, that they get the opportunity to do that. And if they can't make it to that, we do record the session and then upload it to a private Facebook group that our online students can join.
And just because a lot of transformation, a lot of trust, a lot of rapport happens in these groups, I guess it would be helpful and useful to mention that it's a closed group. So who you start with in the face-to-face groups are who you end with, and you see the same people for 6 months.
Yes, correct. There's absolutely. You've said it well. Whoever you start out with at the beginning of the course is exactly the same people that you finish with. There's never any new intakes halfway through, or a certain person that just kind of joins in for one class. I don't run it like that at all.
Because that can break the momentum, the flow, the rapport, and the trust that gets built
Yes.
in this structure.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you, Sanja. That was really, really fun. Totally worth coming out here. I feel like I'm in a different country, but like I've taken a little holiday. Thank you for having me, and
It's been wonderful.
check out the College of Conscious Living if you're even the slightestly tiny bit curious.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And yeah, we'll catch up again soon.
Yes, I hope so.
Okay, bye.
Bye.